Hello everyone, I'm Lady Sylvine and welcome to my realm of purpose. Today we'll be talking about the origins of humans in Thedas, and what happened to those original cultures. This won't be a full history lesson, but rather a brief overview, because this lore is a little bit complicated. Humans are the most common and dominant race across the continent of Thedas, with a variety of cultures and beliefs, and a complicated history stretching back millennia. Humans are not, however, native to the continent of Thedas, as the dwarves and elves seem to be. According to known lore, humans first arrived in Thedas from across the northern seas, in -3100 ancient, around 4000 years before the events of the games. It's believed by the Dalish elves, and debated by scholars, that humans arrived from the tropical island chain of Parvalin, but this cannot be confirmed. Why the humans left their lands, and why they arrived in Thedas when they did, is a complete mystery.
The Neromenian.
The first humans to arrive in Thedas were the tribal people known as the Neromenian, who settled the entire coastline of the Nosan Sea. When they made contact with the elves, it's believed to have kick-started what the elves call the Quickening, a period in which prolonged contact with mortal beings is said to have robbed the elves of their legendary immortality. So the elves retreated southward, allowing the human race to expand and take over more and more land of the continent. As a result of the expansion, the Neromenian eventually split into several new cultures. The Neromenian remained for a time, as the original culture that never separated itself from its origins. However, there are three largely known cultural divides.
The Barandur,
who were the people who settled the Silent Plains to the south.
the Quarinas,
The people that settled east of the Nosan Sea. And best known,
the Tevinter,
a culture that was defined by the fact they successfully allied themselves with the dwarves. But what happened to these cultures? The Barandur would disappear after the famous city of Barandur was buried under volcanic ash and lost to time. This happened around -1610 ancient. The Tevinter would go on to absorb the remaining Neromenian and the Quarinas into their own culture upon the marriage between High King Darinius of Neromenian and Tevinter and High Queen Rathana of Quarinas, forming the Tevinter Imperium in -1195, over 2000 years before the events of the games. The Tevinter Imperium would expand and regress over the next couple thousand years, as other cultures and historical events underwent their own growth and changes.
the Alamarri,
The first humans to settle in the southeast were the Alamarri, the tribal ancestors of the people of Ferelden. In -2415 ancient, the Alamarri crossed the Frostback Mountains, retreating from a spirit they call the Shadow Goddess, who they claim was plaguing them, which is confirmed by Solus in Inquisition, who claims to have met this spirit, whose true name and nature has been long forgotten. While the Alamarri were a coalition of different tribes, there are three that formed and remained notable to today.
the Clane,
The people that united under King Calenhad to form what is now Ferelden.
the Avar,
The people that dominate the hills and mountains of southern Ferelden, namely the Frostbacks.
and the Chastened,
The people of the Korcari Wilds, who resisted the unification of Ferelden. Here's a brief rundown of these three tribes' history. In -1815 ancient, the Alamarri living near what is now Lake Calenhad split off to become the Avar, a tribe founded by Trida Brightaxe. They now live primarily in the Frostbacks, though are known to occasionally raid the lowlands. In -1415 ancient, the Chastened were formed when some of the Alamarri settled in the forests and swamps of the Korcari Wilds, where they remain today. The Clan are a difficult tribe to pinpoint the origin of, but they have always dominated the general lowlands of Ferelden. In 542 Exalted, the Clan tribes of the fertile lowlands would unite under the rule of King Calenhad Therin, along with his queen Merin, forming the sovereign nation of Ferelden.
The Ciriane.
The tribal people who settled what is now central Orlais were the Ciriane. The exact origin of the Ciriane is unknown, though they were ideally isolated from the Neromenian and Alamarri by the nature of the land separating them. In -203 Ancient, the same year the first archdemon was slain, a Ciriane woman called Brona married a northern Alamarri chieftain called Eldorath and gave birth to Andraste that same year. In -3 Ancient, Cordelis Dracon, son of Constana, a Ciriane chieftain's daughter, and Lord Vandarin of Tevinter, after uniting the Ciriane, was crowned Emperor of the newly formed Empire of Orlais.
The Planasene.
The tribal ancestors that formed the Free Marches, including what would one day be known as the Kingdom of Navarra. Not much is known about the history or origins of the Planasene, beyond the fact that they settled the Free Marches in the region of Navarra. In -692 Ancient, Tyderion, a Latin of Placine descent, was made Archon of the Tevinter Imperium.
The Imghirsh.
The Imghirsh were a nomadic tribe that roamed between northern Orlais and the Silent Plains. But this tribal people have disappeared, as they lost more land and their culture, as others expanded around them. It's impossible to pinpoint the exact origins of this culture. In -981 Ancient, while the Tevinter Imperium was warring with the Elves, the Imghirsh rose against the sovereign settlements of the Imperium, forcing Archon Hacian to bring a swift end to the war with the Elves, to focus instead on the nomadic tribes. The Imghirsh that survived this conflict were absorbed into the Ciriane and Planasene tribes.
The Yothandi.
The Yothandi were the people who populated the Anderfels. The exact origins of the Yothandi is unknown, though it could be argued they derived from the people of the Tevinter Imperium. In -695 Ancient, the western region of the Tevinter Imperium rebelled and formed the Anderfels, populated mainly by the Yothandi.
The Orth.
This is the original name for the people of the Anderfels, as the land was previously named Orthland. The Orth still exist in the Wandering Hills region and practice facial scarification.
The Hacian.
There's virtually no information on the Hacian, beyond that they existed. They were a tribal people who spread across Thedas around the same time as the Ciriane, Planasene, and Alamarri. And that's about it. I would love to go into detail about these tribes individually, because there's a lot of history concerning them. But I just wanted to give a brief overview of the original humans and where they went and what happened to them. That's all I've got for today, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and hope for more content in the future. Have a great day.